Hello, third grade teachers, and thank you for taking the first steps towards identifying and learning about the ELA Unit 2 documents, tools, and resources, which have been prepared to help you align your lessons, objectives, and assessments to the core content standards. This video is separated into 3 parts. The first part will outline the unit's goals, essential questions, and priority standards. In addition, we'll show you an end product to help you visualize the outcome and student understanding for the unit. Then moving on to part 2. Part 2 will include the teaching points. Those will be identified and explained. Each curriculum document will also be explained, and you'll have a better understanding on how to utilize each document in your planning and execution of the unit. Part 2 will also give you suggested materials for the unit, along with the flexibility to incorporate your own resources. And then finally, Part 3. Part 3 will include the summative assessment for the unit. That will be reviewed, and we'll also want your feedback. It's so important. So at the end of the video, we'll include a link to a document to fill out. It'll be a living document that you can include your feedback and questions. So make sure you click the link at the end of the video and share your feedback. We would like to hear from you. So let's get started and visit Kaylee, Heather, and the third grade curriculum team, who have worked so hard to equip you with the knowledge and resources to successfully execute ELA Unit 2. Good luck.
Let's get started. Good morning, third grade team. Today we are going to talk about the Unit 2 Fiction Author Study, working with Patricia Polacco. My name is Kaylee Spahn, and this summer I worked with Heather Mosenson and the curriculum planning team to come up with a map that can kind of help us align our curriculum with the Common Core standards while using authentic literature and including some of the literature that we already have, like in Reading Street. So I'll walk you through that today, how to use the UBD and the different assessments that we'll use for this unit, and it's a lot of fun. All right, so we can start with our rationale. First of all, we created the unit to better align our curriculum with the Common Core standards. We also made this unit to better align our curriculum with the expectations for the increased rigor in the PARCC assessment. So at this point, we need something after the reading launch and the writing launch to have in our classrooms that kind of has lessons designed towards that thinking. So this document is the Grade 3 ELA Curriculum Map and Assessment Guide, and this is a golden document because it has everything that you need with a hyperlink to it. We are focusing on the Fiction Author Study by Patricia Polacco, so we'll click there. And today I'm going to walk you through this author study, and it's the UBD, which is Understanding by Design. So the main essential question and enduring understanding for this unit is, how does an author show change or growth in a character across texts? We're using Patricia Polacco because she does use herself in her literature, the character Trisha. So that's a good way for us to see how a character changes across texts. These are our priority standards here, the reading literature standards. You will not see any reading informational standards because we're not reading nonfiction in this unit. It's all based on fiction. And if you scroll down on the UBD, it does give you a little bit more information on our rationale, and it does tell you more of our priority standards here. We do want to show you what the ending assessment looks like, so you have an idea of where your students need to be by the end. So under summative assessments on this golden curriculum map, we have our PCR that the students need to answer by the end. So here are 2 excerpts from a story written by the same author. The first is Lily's Purple Plastic Purse by Kevin Hanks. Students draw a picture and just write some thinking at the end. And then the second is Julius, the baby of the world. And then at the end of that one is where the students need to think about what caused Lily's character to change in both stories. So again, it's aligned with our essential question of the unit: how does an author show change in a character across texts? They're practicing it the entire unit with Patricia Polacco, and here in their final assessment, they're doing it with 2 Kevin Hanks stories with the same character in both little excerpts. So that's what the ending assessment looks like. And a way throughout the unit to help scaffold students' thinking is this PBLQ. It goes along with the Patricia Polacco study. A PBLQ is a problem-based learning question, and it's kind of a way for students to do thinking and build on a theory throughout the unit. So each time you read a story, does not have to be all of these stories. We'd say at least 4, so that way they have enough information to work with. You will have the students take this out. This is something they have from the beginning of the unit that they keep in their, attached to their RRJ, they keep in their classwork folder, their desk folder, whatever you call it. After reading a story, write down what Trisha's challenge was and her solution, how she dealt with that challenge. After reading My Rotten-Headed Older Brother, what the challenge was, how she dealt with that challenge, and the solution. So those are just boxes that they can fill in and keep with them throughout the unit. And then towards the end of the unit, they're answering this question: what does this say about Trisha? Did she grow or change as a character? How do you know? Again, sticking with that theme of that essential question: how does a character change across texts? So you may be asking yourself, okay, that's what the end product is supposed to look like. That's what my students need to do. How do I get them there? So that's what the UBD was designed for. It spells out everything you need from your standards that you need to teach to, which is our priority because we are now Common Core aligned. And then if you scroll down the document, it tells you the suggested Patricia Polacco books that you need to use at least 4 so the students can fill in that PBLQ throughout the unit to set them up to be successful on the final PCR. And it gives us our essential questions and enduring understandings, all the way down to our student targets and learning objectives. And these are actually pulled from the Common Core standards. They're also pulled, if you scroll down on this golden curriculum map, from our grade 3 regional document. This is a great place to go if you are having questions about how do I differentiate, what sort of other teaching points can I use for this lesson, what sorts of graphic organizers could I use. So here's some instructional guidance, and it also states on here what our district approach to teaching reading is, where you have your mini lesson first, where you have an explicit instruction on a certain strategy or skill. There's independent reading time. There is conferring one-on-one time to kind of differentiate teaching a skill or strategy with your students. And there's guided reading and group work and shared reading that can be in your instructional reading block. So this regional document is a great place to look at the Common Core standards and teaching points, because that's where we pulled some of our ideas for this UBD. So we'll go back to the fiction author study, UBD, and if you scroll down to the teaching and learning actions, again, we give you some ideas about the instructional strategies you can use in your classroom, whole group to anchor charts, strategies for small groups, sharing, students, partner work, and then into the actual activities that happen. So the first thing you might want to do to start off this unit is give a pre-assessment. Ask your students if they know what character traits are. How does an author show change or growth in a character across texts? They may have no idea how to answer that question. That's okay, because that's something that you're going to talk about throughout the unit. Some speaking and listening activities that you want to make sure are included in your classroom are establishing procedures for active listening and discussions, turn and talks, questioning each other, think, pair, share, small group discussions. All of these things are not only good for you to just have in your classroom for this unit, they're good because it lends itself to Danielson and what a classroom should look like with students questioning each other and sharing discussions. So here's where our reading activities start. What we did was we numbered them 1 through 19, I believe, and they really are just skills and strategies. They have objectives, SWBAT, a student will be able to, that build upon each other. So the first one starts off with story structure, identifying the story elements that make up a plot, character setting, problem, action, solution. Those are the vocabulary words. Everything below it builds upon it. These were all organized in this planning document that you can go to. Teachers have access to because it's a very teacher-friendly document. It tells you the stories that go along with that skill or strategy. You can pick their suggested text, so it doesn't tell you exactly what you have to use. And it tells you what the standard is that goes along with it. And the objective, skill or strategy, and vocabulary. So this is a really teacher-friendly version. It's in the same exact order of the lessons in the UBD, but we have it here just because it gives you your materials that you may want. And we did keep Reading Street in mind because there are some good books in there, and we don't want to totally discard using Reading Street. So, and even like if you were going to use a dictionary or laptops for certain things, we just threw that in there. Certain charts that you can use. So there are a bunch of ideas in this planning document. So again, that planning document is taken, or this UBD is taken from that planning document with all of the teaching points in order. And in that planning document, it has your materials. At the bottom of this UBD also has your materials and resources. Here are suggested Reading Street texts. Here are suggested Patricia Polacco books, which you need at least 4 for your students to do their PBLQ. Here are other authentic texts that could lend themselves to lessons and other resources for you as a teacher to look at for teaching grammar, and the regional document, that is a pretty good document, and for Writer's Workshop. And then here are some leveled readers. If you come across any resources or materials that you think work in a classroom, we trust your expertise, so we will have a time when we can give feedback and add that to the unit. So keep those in mind, so that way when there is a time to have that conversation, we have other teachers with ideas. Finally, at the end here, after talking about materials, our final assessment, again, is our prose constructed response, which is the students reading those Kevin Hanks stories and providing a written response on how the character changed. And one option is, or actually one of the things you have to do, is a Reading Street benchmark. And you might be thinking, Reading Street, we're not teaching Reading Street. We made sure that all of the skills and strategies in the comprehension portion of the Reading Street test are taught in this unit. So the students will be able to be successful on Reading Street Benchmark 1 for the comprehension portion only. So that can be used as a final assessment. And then in writing, they will have their personal narrative published piece. Thank you for taking the time to listen to how to work through this Unit 2 fiction author study. We are excited to see how it pans out, and we look forward to your feedback. There will be a Google form available for your feedback and constructive criticism. So good luck and enjoy Patricia Polacco. We'll see you at the next unit.